I never used to believe in supernatural stuff. Ghosts, doppelgangers, alternate realities, all of it sounded like the plot of a low-budget horror movie. But something happened when I was 21 that made me question everything I thought I knew about what's real and what isn't. I was working as a live-in babysitter for a family in northern Ohio. Nice people, mid-30s, professional, with a sweet 2-year-old daughter named Molly. The father worked night shifts in Cleveland, and the mother was usually away on business trips. They offered me a private room, great pay, and more quiet than I knew what to do with. It was the perfect setup. Or so I thought. The house was big, too big. Empty hallways. Echoes that lingered a little longer than they should have. But the parents assured me that everything was secured. "We've installed cameras in every room," the father had said with a grin, "except the bathrooms, of course. Safety first." There was something oddly comforting about the red blinking lights in the corners of each ceiling. I got used to them quickly. It felt like someone else was watching over us, like I had backup if anything weird happened. They even showed me how to monitor all the camera feeds through their phone app, just in case. For the first few nights, nothing happened. Molly was a breeze, fed her, bathed her, read her 2 bedtime stories, and she was out cold by 9 p.m. I'd clean up, check the locks, and settle on the living room couch with a blanket, scrolling mindlessly on my phone until I dozed off. Sometimes I'd even check the camera feeds, mostly out of boredom. But on the 5th night, things changed. There was a strange heaviness in the air. The kind of subtle discomfort you can't name, but you feel it in your bones. That night, I couldn't relax. I kept feeling like something was just slightly off. It was around 11:30 p.m. Molly was asleep. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I opened a camera app on my phone just to distract myself. The feed from the living room popped up first. I froze. On the screen, I saw the couch I was sitting on. The blanket beside me. The same hoodie I was wearing. But I was already there. Asleep. In that exact spot. Arms folded. Eyes closed. Head tilted. It was me. Sleeping. Even though I was very much awake and staring at the screen. At first, I thought maybe it was a delayed feed or a frozen image. But the timestamp at the bottom kept ticking forward second by second. I blinked. Looked at the couch. Then back at the screen. Then back at the couch again. Nothing matched. I stood up slowly, my blood going cold. The couch looked empty. The blanket was still bunched up next to where I had been sitting. But on the screen, the version of me remained peacefully asleep. My breath caught in my throat. The air felt heavier. Thicker. Like it was harder to breathe. I waved a hand in front of the camera. Nothing changed. I walked to the corner directly beneath the camera and stood still, staring up at it. The red light blinked like it always did, like it was watching. But the feed showed no movement. No update. Just, the sleeping me. I shut the app, reopened it. Same image. Same impossible version of myself on the screen. And that's when I realized. Maybe I wasn't the one watching anymore. Maybe I was the one being watched. I don't know how long I stood there under that blinking red light, heart thudding, hands frozen around my phone. The longer I stared at the screen, the more it felt like gravity had shifted. Like I was no longer fully here, or maybe I never was. Then the baby monitor crackled to life. A sharp cry pierced the silence. Not a sleepy whimper or a startled fuss like Molly usually made when she shifted in her crib. This was something different. Panic. Fear. Like she was screaming from the bottom of a well. I bolted from the living room, practically tripping over my own feet. The hallway seemed longer than it should have. The shadows stretched in unnatural ways as I moved, and the air felt thick, like I was trying to walk underwater. When I reached the nursery and threw the door open, Molly was sitting up in her crib, eyes wide, mouth trembling but silent now. Not a sound. Just one little arm raised, pointing to the ceiling. Specifically, the corner where the red light blinked steadily above us. "Molly," I whispered, stepping inside, trying to keep my voice calm, even though I could feel my pulse thudding in my ears. She didn't look at me. Her hands stayed extended. Her eyes stayed glued to that blinking dot of red in the ceiling, as if she saw something I couldn't. I followed her gaze but saw only shadows and drywall. Still, the temperature in the room had dropped. I could feel it. The kind of cold that wraps around your bones, not your skin. A deep, invasive chill. I reached for her and picked her up from the crib. She clung to me immediately tight, desperate. I've never felt strength like that from a toddler before. Her tiny fingers dug into my shirt like she thought I might vanish if she let go. "SHH, it's okay," I lied, my voice shaking. "You're safe. You're okay." But I wasn't okay. I didn't even believe my own words. I backed slowly into the rocking chair, still holding her, rocking slightly even though my legs were stiff with fear. My phone buzzed softly in my pocket. I pulled it out and reopened the camera app. The living room feed was still the same. Still me, on the couch. Still asleep. Unmoving. Unaware. I flipped to the nursery feed. And my blood turned to ice. According to the camera, Molly was alone. The crib was in frame. She was sitting up, just like before. But I wasn't there. I stared at the image. Then at the room around me. Then back at the screen. I waved. No reaction. I walked directly in front of the camera. Still nothing. Just Molly. Sitting alone. It was like, the house was choosing what to show and what to leave out. I tapped frantically through the other feeds. Kitchen empty. Upstairs hallway still. Living room still me, sleeping. It was like I had split into pieces across dimensions. One of me was watching. One of me was missing. One of me was asleep on a couch I had already left behind. The silence pressed in tighter. And then, a whisper of air behind me. Like someone exhaling softly near the back of my neck. I spun around. Nothing there. Just shadows and the gentle creak of the rocking chair beneath us. I looked at Molly, her wide eyes were still fixed on that corner of the ceiling. She hadn't blinked once. I don't know how long we sat there like that. Minutes. Hours. Time had started to lose meaning. But somewhere in the early hours of the morning, she finally slumped against me and drifted off again, still clutching my shirt with one hand. I stayed awake, rocking slowly, staring at the red light in the ceiling. Wondering if it was still watching me. Wondering what it had seen. And more terrifyingly what it had decided to show instead. Morning didn't come with sunlight. It came with silence. That suffocating, eerie kind of silence that somehow feels louder than a scream. Outside, the sky was just starting to shift from black to gray, but inside the house, nothing had changed. It was still dark. Still cold. And that little red light above Molly's crib was still blinking. I hadn't slept. Molly lay curled against me in the rocking chair, her breath warm against my chest, but her body tense even in sleep, like she was still bracing for something. I kept my eyes on the camera feed. I didn't know what I expected. For the fake version of me to vanish? Wake up? Move? Nope. She stayed there, frozen in time, peacefully asleep, as if the whole night had never happened. When I heard the front door open, my heart nearly stopped. Keys jingling. Voices. The parents were home. I stood, legs numb, Molly still in my arms. I made my way down the stairs, watching my step like the house might shift again beneath me. When I reached the living room, the mother stepped in first, holding her purse and giving me a polite, tired smile. I didn't wait. I told them everything. Not hysterically. Not even with emotion anymore. I just laid it all out, the cameras showing me sleeping, not recognizing my presence, Molly's reaction, the missing image from the nursery, the cold, the whisper, all of it. They didn't interrupt. They didn't laugh. They didn't ask if I was sure. They just went quiet. The father looked at the mother. She nodded. And then he turned to me and said something that made my skin crawl more than anything I'd experienced that night. It's happened before. Not to you. But yeah, something like that. My throat went dry. What do you mean? I asked. He hesitated. We got the cameras for safety. Molly had night terrors when she was a baby. We wanted to make sure she wasn't hurting herself in her sleep. But sometimes, the cameras show things that don't make sense. The mother spoke next, her voice calm. Practiced. Too calm. Just pretend you didn't see it. That's what we do. That's what we do. Like this was just normal. Like this was the price of living in this house. They paid me in cash. Didn't ask questions. Didn't offer excuses. It was like they knew I'd never come back. Like they counted on it. I packed my things in silence. No hugs. No polite goodbyes. As I opened the front door, something caught my eye. Above the doorway, nestled into the molding just out of easy sight, was another camera. One I hadn't noticed before. But this one, its red light wasn't blinking. It was solid. Watching. Recording. I left without another word. That night, back in my own apartment, I opened the app one last time. My login still worked. All the cameras loaded, one by one. Kitchen. Nursery. Hallway. Empty. Normal. But the living room camera? Offline. Instead of a live feed, it showed a frozen still image. Me. Still asleep. Same position. Same hoodie. Same blanket pulled up around my shoulders. As if I'd never left. As if a part of me was still there, trapped in a loop I couldn't escape. I deleted the app. Turned off my phone. I haven't babysat since. Not once. And now, every time I see a blinking red light in the corner of a room, whether it's a smoke detector, a camera, even a Wi-Fi router, I get this pressure in my chest. Like I'm not alone. Like I'm not the one watching. Like I'm the one being remembered. They said it would be an easy night. The baby was already asleep. The parents just needed someone to be present just in case. Quiet evening, no diapers, no bottles. All you have to do, the mom said with a warm smile, is relax. I needed the money, and honestly, I needed the quiet. College had been brutal that semester, and I was more than happy to spend a few hours in a beautiful house, nestled deep in the woods of upstate New York. That's what drew me in at first. The peaceful isolation. The gravel road that wound through trees like something from a fairy tale. It felt safe. Removed. Like nothing bad could touch it. But now I understand some places aren't far enough from the world. They're far enough from hell. When I arrived, the parents greeted me warmly, showed me around. The baby, Lila, was asleep upstairs in a white nursery that looked like it belonged in a catalog. The kind of room that was too perfect, every toy neatly arranged, the rocking chair untouched, the monitor softly glowing green. They mentioned there might be a storm. We've got a generator, the dad reassured me. If the lights flicker, don't worry. Just give it a second. And then they left, right on time. By 7:30, I was curled up on their living room couch with a blanket and my phone. I had the baby monitor beside me, the faint gray glow of night vision showing Lila sleeping peacefully in her crib. It was nice. Just the sound of the wind picking up outside and the occasional soft patter of rain against the windows. I muted the TV to listen. It was peaceful in a way I didn't expect. But there was something else. Something I didn't notice at first, the way the silence seemed to grow thicker with every passing minute. By 9:30, the wind had turned sharper, whistling through the window panes like a warning. The rain had become a steady downpour, and thunder rumbled from a distance. That's when the lights went out. The TV blinked off. The monitor screen went black. Everything fell into a heavy, unnatural silence. No hum from the fridge. No subtle clicks from the heater. Just me, sitting in the pitch dark, holding my breath. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. No generator. No flicker. Just the storm. I turned on the flashlight on my phone, casting long, shaky beams across the room. Shadows jumped at the edges of furniture. I hated how quiet it was. Not even the baby cried. I checked the doors still locked. Windows still shut tight. Nothing seemed out of place, and yet, everything felt wrong. Like something had entered the house with the storm. I told myself I was being dramatic. That I was just on edge because of the sudden blackout. Still, I needed to check on Lila. Storm or not, the monitor was down, and my anxiety wouldn't let me sit still. I took a deep breath and started up the stairs, one hand trailing the railing, the other gripping the flashlight. And then lightning. A flash of brilliant white filled the hallway. Just enough to see. Just enough to show me something I'll never forget. At the top of the stairs, the nursery door was wide open. And someone was standing inside it. Not moving. Not turning. Just facing the crib. The flash ended just as quickly as it came, plunging everything back into darkness. My breath caught in my throat. Had I really seen that? A figure tall, unmoving, standing inside the nursery, facing the crib. No sound. No movement. Just presence. I stood frozen halfway up the stairs, my phone clutched so tightly the edge dug into my palm. My flashlight shook in my hand, throwing scattered beams up the steps. The nursery door was now closed. I hadn't heard it shut. No creak. No slam. Just closed. The silence wrapped around me like cold plastic. Thick. Suffocating. My legs trembled as I finished climbing the stairs. My voice barely came out. Hello. No answer. Of course not. I told myself it had to be lightning, maybe a shadow, a trick of the light. My imagination. That was easier than the alternative. But my gut was screaming. I approached the door and reached for the knob, hand shaking. It was cold. Too cold for a house with central heat. Like it hadn't been touched in hours. Or like something on the other side had drained the warmth from the air. I turned the knob slowly and pushed the door open. My flashlight swept across the room. The crib. The walls. The rocking chair. Empty. Lila was gone. Gone. The sheets were wrinkled, still warm when I touched them, but she wasn't there. My chest tightened so fast I thought I might pass out. I blinked, checked the corners of the room, whispered her name. Lila. Nothing. There was no closet in the room, just a toy chest and the crib. I dropped to my knees, shining my light under the furniture, reaching behind the rocking chair. Nothing. The windows were closed. Locked. The screen still intact. I hadn't heard a sound. No footsteps. No doors. It made no sense. How does a baby disappear without a sound? I stood in the middle of that perfect little nursery, heart racing, staring at the spot where I had last seen her on the monitor. There was no sign of a struggle. No broken glass. Not even a misplaced toy. Just absence. The room felt wrong. Tilted somehow, like the gravity had shifted slightly, pulling everything inward. Even the shadows looked too dark. Too dense. I had to leave. I needed help. I rushed downstairs and grabbed my phone. No service. No Wi-Fi. Just an error message blinking on the screen. No signal. No escape. And then, a hum. A soft buzz. The power flickered back on. The lights blinked to life, followed by the familiar crackle of the baby monitor. I grabbed it instantly. The screen lit up fuzzy at first, then clear. The nursery. The crib. And inside it? Lila. Fast asleep. Exactly where she had been. Exactly how I had left her. As if nothing had happened. As if she had never been missing at all. I didn't go back upstairs. I couldn't. Not after what I saw, what I know I saw. I sat on the living room couch all night, baby monitor in my lap, its pale glow casting ghost-like shadows on my legs. I kept watching it, waiting for something to change again. But it didn't. Lila lay in the crib, peaceful. Breathing slow. No sign she had ever left. No sign that any of it had happened. I didn't sleep. I didn't even blink for long. Every creak in the walls, every whisper of wind outside made my spine stiffen. I thought about going upstairs one more time, just to prove to myself she was really there. But something deep in my chest instinct, maybe told me not to. The house didn't want me there. And I had a feeling it wasn't finished playing with me. The front door finally opened just after 7 a.m. Sunlight spilled in like a rescue team. The parents walked in smiling, chatting softly. They looked like any normal couple returning from a quiet evening out. The mother set her purse down on the counter. The father gave me a friendly nod. I stood up slowly. My mouth was dry. My hands were still trembling. I need to tell you something, I said. They looked at me, a light curiosity on their faces. And I told them. All of it. The power going out. The flash of lightning. The figure in the nursery. The closed door. Lila missing. The baby monitor glitching. Her sudden reappearance like nothing ever happened. I expected confusion. Or disbelief. Or even laughter. But what I got instead was far worse. They just stared. And then the father looked at the mother. And she nodded. He turned back to me, face unreadable. His voice was quiet when he said, "You're not the first." I felt the floor tilt under me. What does that mean?" I asked. He glanced down, like choosing his words. "We've had sitters before. Some saw things. Some didn't. The power always comes back eventually." The mother stepped forward, her voice calm. Too calm. "There's something about the house," she said. "It's old. Sometimes, time gets strange. Strange. Like your baby disappears. Like people stand in rooms that shouldn't be empty. Like your reality splits at the seams. We don't talk about it much," she added. "Because most people don't believe us. Or worse, they believe us and never come back." I stood there, too stunned to speak. My mouth opened, then closed. "You should get some rest," the dad said kindly. "We'll pay you cash, of course." Cash. No record. No paper trail. I took the envelope and left without another word. As I drove back down that winding gravel road, the trees that had once seemed peaceful now looked like sentries, like they were watching, remembering. I didn't stop until I got home. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Couldn't let go of what I'd seen. That night, I checked the babysitting app on my phone. Just curiosity, I told myself. I searched the couple's name. Their listing was gone. Vanished. Just like Lila had. And sometimes, in the still moments just before I fall asleep, I think about that lightning flash. That moment frozen in time when I saw the figure in the nursery. It wasn't a burglar. It wasn't a hallucination. It was something the house wanted me to see. And now, it feels like that moment is still happening. Somewhere. In some version of time. On a loop. Over and over. Because even though I left, I'm not sure that version of me ever did.